Hey everybody, welcome back to BuQeye Barbecue. Today we're going to do some smoked salmon. So let's get started. Okay, so we have our salmon fillet here. First thing I discovered, which I was not expecting, is I ended up getting a salmon fillet with the skin off. I really normally like the skin to be on. Not a big deal. Might change a little bit about how we cook this in the end, but it'll be fine. I don't usually serve it or eat it with the skin on, although I don't mind it, but it kind of acts as a barrier and protects the fish, and you can just flake the meat right off of the skin in my experience. So I usually like to have that, but it is what it is. We're gonna go with this. So first thing I'm gonna do is kind of trim this up and even it out. I'm not gonna get rid of any of this that I'm trimming off, but I just wanna kind of make it uniform. The next thing I'll do is cut this. I'm going to cut it in half and then into fourths. I'm not letting perfect be the enemy here, just eyeballing it. There we go. So now we've got this into fourths. So at this point, if I can cut properly, there we go. So at this point, I'm going to move the salmon out of my way, and we're going to mix together our dry brine. And in order to do that, I have a empty Pyrex measuring dish, and to that I'm going to add 2 cups of brown sugar. And all you really have to have is salt to go with your brown sugar. I also have about a tablespoon of Cajun seasoning, which you don't have to have. I just wanted to add that flavor profile to this particular batch of smoked salmon. So I've got a half a cup of salt. So I do like a 4-to-1 ratio of brown sugar to salt. And we're just gonna mix that all together. And there's about a tablespoon, if I didn't say it, of the Cajun seasoning. Next thing you want to do is mix that together, and I'm just going to grab a fork, which I did not have prepared, and just mix it together. There are certainly other brining recipes. You can do a wet brine. There are different dry brining recipes. I just find that this is the easiest one for me. It works well. And so this is sort of my go-to. But a lot of other ways you can do this. The one thing you want to be careful of is your salt content. It is very easy to have that get away from you. Smoked salmon is a little bit salty to begin with, and if it gets away from you, it can turn from briny to inedible very quickly. So be careful of your salt content. Other than that, 4-to-1 brown sugar and salt is a pretty good ratio. So after we get that mixed together, move that out of the way, and then I've just got a 9x13 Pyrex baking dish here. You could use any type of container like this. I wouldn't use metal. Use something non-reactive. I wouldn't use plastic. Glass is best. The other thing I've done is just use a Ziploc bag, or I've also done it with a food saver and vacuum sealed the fish in the brine. For this, I'm just going to use the baking dish, and I'm just going to take some of the brine and sprinkle it in the bottom of the pan and just kind of cover the whole dish. Just a thin layer. You want to make sure you have enough of your seasoning, of your dry brine left over for the top, but definitely get the bottom covered. So I'm just going to start laying my fillets right on top of the brine. And if you have to overlap, that's fine, but set it up in such a way so that your top layer still gets some of the brining seasoning on the bottom of it, and that'll work fine. I've done it plenty of times that way. And you want to cover the top of the fish as well. So what I'm doing now as I stack this is making sure the bottom layer of fish also has the brine on top of it. So kind of serving two purposes there. And then you just want to cover the top really well with your seasoning. And I have this, what I'm going to call the chef's snack, that little piece I trimmed off there. There we go. So we got the fish well covered, top and bottom, both layers. Now if you find that you didn't make enough brine, there is absolutely no reason you can't mix together a little more and add to it. Just use those same ratios. So maybe you would use 4 tablespoons of brown sugar to 1 tablespoon of salt or something like that to finish it off. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is cover this with the lid that goes with this pan, which I have underneath. I'm going to do that off camera just because my hands are messy. And we're going to get it into the fridge, and it's going to sit in there at least 4 hours. 8 hours would be good, or anywhere in between. So we will bring you back when we pull this out of the refrigerator, and we'll show you something interesting that happens with this dry brine on the fish. Alright, so we're going to take a look at the salmon. It has been in the refrigerator in the dry brine for about 4 hours, and you'll notice one of the reasons I want to do this is to just show you what happens after that amount of time. So it started out as a dry brine, but look at all that moisture that has been pulled out of the salmon by the brining process. So one thing I want to do is just flip all of it over. That way we can be sure and have an even brining process. This is actually already feeling exactly like I wanted to. It's hardening up because of the moisture being pulled out, getting a little stiffer. So we could really take this out right now, but I want to let it go a little bit longer. And probably in the next couple of hours, we'll pull it out to go through the next step. So this is perfect right now, so we will bring you back soon. Gonna put the lid on and get it back in the refrigerator. Okay, so our salmon has been in the brining seasoning and losing a lot of its moisture content now for about 6 hours. So I'm going to start, and by the way, I just rinsed all of the fillets off. There was nothing special to it. I just used cold tap water to rinse the excess brining seasoning and the liquid off of it. I didn't do it on camera just because it wasn't that big of a deal, but you definitely need to do that. Your salmon might be way too salty if you don't. And then you want the pellicle to form, which is kind of an outside layer that forms after you've done your brining, just by it being in the air. You could even use a fan to kind of get that to form a little quicker. That is what your smoke will adhere to. So you definitely want that to form. So I'm just using a paper towel now, making sure these are reasonably dry since I rinsed them off. Keep your eye out for any bones, depending on where you get your salmon, and if it's fresh and you fillet it yourself, there's definitely going to be bones. But you can use a pair of needle nose pliers to pull those pin bones out. You'll want to do that. I've had them be in there after cooking, and honestly you can pull them out then too, and sometimes they're even easier at that point. But if you see some, you're going to want to get them out at some point for sure. Okay. So this is our last cut fillet. So again, I want a little air gap in between each one. We're going to let them dry, form that pellicle, and then we will get them ready for the smoker. I'm going to do these several different ways today. The first salmon video I posted a while back, it was a smaller piece and I just did it one way, but I'm going to do at least 2 if not 3 different versions of this salmon today. So we'll bring it back. Okay, so the salmon has developed its pellicle. I could let it go a little longer, but it's nice and tacky and I think it's going to do well. So I've got some cedar planks here, and I'm chiefly doing the cedar planks. I don't usually do this because of the fact that we don't have any skin on our salmon. I just don't want it to stick to the grill grates, so we're going to use those. Oh, forgot one thing. So one thing I am going to do is take a little duck fat spray and just spray a little bit on each one. I just want to ensure that that the salmon doesn't stick to the cedar. I really don't think it would, but I'm just going to be sure. And duck fat is great flavor as far as I'm concerned. So there we go. So now I'm just going to start placing the salmon on the planks. I've got 4 of them, which will be plenty. There we go. And then the very last strip, lay a little bit diagonally. Okay, so I'm going to go now and get the Weber Smokefire started. I'm going to put it on smoke boost so it'll hold about 165 to 200, somewhere in there. It'll fluctuate, and I'm also going to get our seasonings and other stuff together to add to our salmon. So I will be right back. Okay, so we're going to get our salmon ready to go. First thing I have here is I have a couple of tablespoons of mayonnaise and maybe a tablespoon of sriracha. I'm just going to mix that up. I honestly didn't measure these, just eyeballed it. So once those get mixed up, I'm going to use this on the plank with 2 of the fillets, and I'm just going to put it on there and spread it around. I'm not going to get super fancy with it, just use the back of the spoon, spread it around. There we go. And then that one will be done. This probably just going to eat just by itself. Okay. Next, I'm going to do 2 with some Killer Hogs barbecue rub. And I'm not going to go super heavy on this, but I'm going to do this thin strip with this and this one over here. There we go. And when they get closer to being done on the smoker, I'm going to baste them with some Killer Hogs barbecue sauce. I don't want to do that yet though. And then the one in the middle, I'm actually going to use for another video for a smoked salmon dip. So I'm just going to use seasoning salt, just your standard Lowry seasoning salt. And by the way, I'm not going super heavy on any of these because these sat in brown sugar and kosher salt for hours. So I don't want to over season them. So that should be good. So we will see you out at the smoker. Okay, so we're going to put our salmon on the cedar planks on the smoke fire. Okay, there we go. So we're gonna just kind of forget about this for, I'm guessing, 30 minutes or so. I've got the temperature pretty low, so I'm not worried about it overcooking. And I actually like my salmon a little more done than some anyway. I'm sort of a 140 to 145 degree guy, and honestly, if it creeps up above 145, I'm not even all that worried about it. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to temp the thickest one, and when it hits 140 to 142, I'm going to pull them all off, and I think they all should be exactly the way we like them here. So we'll bring you back. Okay, it's been exactly 30 minutes, so we're going to take a look at our salmon. I am sure it's nowhere near temperature, but let's just see how it's doing. Looks good. Smells terrific in there. So I'm just going to temp this one here. It's one of the thickest ones. And about 80 degrees. I'll go ahead and temp another one here just to see if they're pretty similar. About 83, 81. So those are looking great. We're just going to let them keep going and we'll come back. Okay, we're 1 hour in now, so we're going to check these. Looking really good, all of them. Check. $107. 111. Okay. So I'm going to bump these off of Smoke Boost and take them up to about 200, 225, something like that for the ambient temperature. So we'll check them again in another probably 20 to 30 minutes. And I think by that time we'll be getting pretty close, so we'll bring you back. So this thin strip is much higher in temperature. It's approaching 150. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little barbecue sauce to that. Oops. And then just brush it and let it sit in here for maybe another 5 to 10 minutes. It'll be a little overdone, even for me who likes it a little more done, but I want to give it time to set. So we'll pull that one off early. The other ones are around 120, so we probably still have another 20 minutes to go on those. So we will bring you back shortly. Okay, we're going to grab this one piece. Looks really good. Hope you can see that. The sauce is setting. I didn't want to leave it on very long, so. Okay, so these are up over 130 now, so we're going to do some final steps to these. I've got some honey that I've heated in the microwave just to make it pliable and more viscous. And I'm going to brush that on this salmon fillet that has the seasoning salt on it. And then I'm also going to brush that on the one with the Killer Hogs barbecue rub on it. And the one with the sriracha mayonnaise, I'm just going to leave as is. Except for one thing, I'm going to then take some black pepper and I'm going to add that to the seasoning salt one, and also to the mayonnaise and sriracha ones. There we go. So we're going to let these go up the last 5 to 8 degrees, let the honey set, and we will bring you back probably after we take them in here in about 10 minutes. So we'll see you soon. Okay, we're going to be taking these off now. So this is our barbecue rub and barbecue sauce. This is our Lowry seasoning salt and honey and black pepper. And this is our sriracha mayo with the black pepper. So we will see you inside to give these a taste. Okay, so here's our cedar plank salmon, 3 different ways. Here we have our barbecue rub with barbecue sauce. Here we have our Lowry seasoning salt with a honey glaze and black pepper. And here we have our sriracha mayo with black pepper. So let's give them a try. This first one, I had that little smaller piece that my son and I ate the whole thing already. So I sort of know how this one tastes, but we'll try it. Really good. I like the combination of barbecue sauce with salmon. Perfect sweetness. The barbecue rub comes through. It is not over seasoned, which is something I always worry about when I dry brine salmon. So the next one is the Lowry seasoning salt. And I'm actually going to do something special with this one, but we will take a little bite just to try it. Super flaky. The juice just ran out of that, so still moist. That's really good. I love honey with salmon as well. Great sweetness. I'm gonna have another bite actually. So I hope you can see that. It's excellent. So stay tuned for another video involving that piece of salmon. And lastly, we're going to try the sriracha mayonnaise. This one is by far the most moist. That just fork went into that perfectly. Still cooked enough for me. Again, I can eat salmon. I can eat salmon raw for that matter, but I just really like it at around 145. So we'll try this one. That's really good. Got a little spice to it also. So the tablespoon of sriracha was definitely enough, but that's outstanding. So many different things you can do with salmon. I haven't even touched on anywhere close to all of them here. Definitely take an opportunity, smoke some salmon on a pellet grill or any other kind of cooker. The cedar plank, by the way, I don't often do that. I usually just put it straight skin down on the grates, but since this particular salmon didn't have skin on it, I wanted to do the cedar plank. Very mild flavor, not overpowering at all, but it did add something to it, so definitely something worth doing. The other thing I'll check and see if this stuck. Maybe a little bit on this one, not too bad. This one will come right up, and I know these will too. Yeah, they will. So I'll just use a metal spatula to take those off. Try some salmon. By the way, this is a great way to do salmon. I always think that even somebody that doesn't think they like salmon might like this. So give it a shot. We'll see you next time on BuQeye Barbecue. Do me a favor and subscribe and like this video. I'd appreciate it. Thanks.